What's up? I am here with Shane Peters. This dude is the man. So Shane now, where do you live at, Shane? Somewhere in Ohio?
Nope. Kokomo, Indiana.
Why did I think it was Ohio? Regardless.
I don't know.
So I used to go to the Jewett Community Church in Jewett, Illinois, which is, pretty big metropolitan area, maybe 100, 125
Mass,
people.
massive.
Yeah. And so that's where I met Shane. He was the associate pastor there. For how long were you associate pastor there, Shane?
3.5, 4, something like that.
And during those times, Shane and I he got to help me in the exterior cleaning business. So I got to know him pretty well.
Man,
And
you said that really nicely.
I know it sounds so much more professional than when I just say he helped me power wash stuff,
No, I'm saying when you said he helped me, you
Oh,
could have
oh.
you could have went with a myriad.
That's funny. You know, we had a good time. And
Hey,
we got a lot of work done.
yeah, we did. You remember that time you had me carry that 5-gallon bucket up 3 flights of apartment stairs, and I said, "I'm never doing this again." It was the most terrifying moment of my life.
I don't remember that. Oh, it was up a ladder, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at the apartments at
Yes.
the school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was pretty bro. I'm glad that you did that, not me.
it was it's terrifying.
So,
Terrifying.
in those, and I don't know, I think my wife and I started going shortly after you became the associate pastor there. And we both just fell in love with you and your sermons and your ability to worship. Like you were one of the best music musically inclined. I don't even know if that's how you say that, but you always were rocked with it, and we loved it. So when you moved, we were both sad, and we still wish we could hear your music. So, but in those years when we worked together, like we built a pretty good relationship. And I know that now, you guys have 3 kids, we have 3 kids, and we're both married, and we've both had our struggles and
Oh yeah.
through marriage, and we've somewhat lost touch once you left, but during those years, we talked about a lot of stuff, and we went through a lot of different things. So,
Yes, we did.
this month in Structure Year, we're focusing on just relationships, marriages, and so I wanted to bring you on and just get your take on stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're joining us.
Thanks for asking me, buddy.
No problem.
It's been a good time.
Because it's been a long, long time. I mean, we spoke last week, but other than that, we don't talk very often, not as much as I'd like to.
I suck at it.
You're big time in me, but it's all good. We're here now. We're here now, and it's the past is the past.
You're so passive aggressive.
So where do you want to start?
Oh, we could start. I could introduce, I guess we're going to talk about relationships and marriage, a little bit of my background and
Yeah, give us the background of Shane Peters.
yeah, so I'm 33. Been married for 11 years. Last May. Kayla, we've been together for about 14. No, that's not true. Almost 13. 13 years. October 10th. We met at Bible college. She's a pastor's kid. I was a pastor's kid. Um, and yeah, so we've been in ministry for 13 years.
Awesome.
And a lot of times been student minister forever. I think my name on the Zoom call says Judson Road Students. It's
Yeah,
kind of what I've always done is
yeah,
student ministry, but also lead, done family, discipleship, worship, like you were saying. Um, but yeah, so my calling in life is to show people that there is a myriad of choices of how to live your life, how to conduct being a business person, how to be a family person, or how to be a husband. There's a whole bunch of ways we can do it. However, doing it God's way typically works out the best for all those things. But it is, being a Christian, I've said this for a long time. Being a Christian is the best way to live your life, but it is the hardest way to live your life. Um, and specifically with marriage, man, I guess I'll just jump in there. Probably the first year, 2 years of Kayla and I's marriage, we got married. I was 21, she was 21. And I spent the entire first year uh, thinking about divorcing her constantly. I was heavily, this would be a part of the conversation, I guess. I was heavily addicted to porn. I started looking at porn when I was 13 and never quit. After I got married, I did. But when I was first married, I was in that sucker um, pretty intense. And so I just had a really bad view of marriage in a relationship that a man has with his wife, but definitely with porn, with sex, and what that looked like, and how to temper. Um, and those things were bad. I had a pretty bad first 4 to 5 years of marriage. Uh, my wife, Kayla, she'd hide in the bathroom and I'd be screaming and breaking stuff. And I was that guy. And if you know me, if you knew me back then, I was the fun, happy, really not very serious, always have a joke, always ready to make fun of you or to do something so you can laugh and make fun of me. But in reality, in my heart and where I was at as a person, man, I was a pretty big a-hole and a dirtbag. And so, yeah, the first few years of marriage was terrible. It was awful, and my wife
I
should have left me, but she didn't. Thank the Lord.
I'm so glad that we don't script these out because I had zero idea which direction this was headed, and you didn't worry about hitting any singles. You just went straight for the home run, and I can appreciate that. Like, no beating around the bush. Here it is. Like, I
There's
think a
only one
lot of
way to live your life.
a lot of guys need to accept that pornography thing's a real deal. Like I've shared it numerous times. Like that.
Yes.
When I woke up last April, 2019, and
Yeah.
I said, and that was something that I had even addressed to you. Like I came to your office one time and said, I'm done with this. But it was because I
Yeah.
had got caught looking at pornography. I wasn't
Yeah.
ready to change until April 2019. I said, dude, enough's enough. Like I'm not changing for my wife. I'm not changing for my kids. I'm changing for myself, my
Yeah.
relationship with God, and then ultimately for my wife and kids. But yeah, man, it was so that, and I had zero idea about that with you and your spouse. So that's interesting to learn. And
Oh, yeah. I
how
would
did
do it all over again as long as we didn't have to do that.
and no, okay, what'd you just say there?
I would get married to her all over again as long as I didn't have to go through that stupid stage.
But do
If
you
I
think but do you think, Shane, that that's helped your marriage to where it is
oh,
now?
because I made the right choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I vividly remember my calling my dad in the parking lot of St. Louis Christian College. We had been married for less than a year, and I don't remember the fight, but I remember I was done. And I remember asking my dad, can I just divorce her?
Hmm.
Can I just be done? Like, am I, because it's so funny. Like, I guess people have this idea that pastors like have everything figured out and
Yeah.
like we know everything about the Bible. Like, stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you have these convictions and we tell you, raw, do it this way. And then it's like I came up to that precipice of I'm freaking done with you. And I have this massive sin problem, but my pride is in the way. And so instead of dealing with my sin, let's just get rid of you. And it was like, am I going to go to hell if I get
Hmm.
divorced? And like I remember having that conversation, and my dad, God God bless him for not giving in to my pride and my, me trying to make it something it wasn't. He recognized it as, you made a commitment to your wife, and you have to keep your word. You have to work through this. You can't just quit, and then people started getting put in my life. I started seeking them, and then we started making the right choice. So yes, it did help, but it helped because I made the right choice. I mean, there's how many people in this world spend 30 years hung up because something happened when they were younger or whatever, and they can't forgive, they can't move past it, then they can never eh, objectively look at it and say, okay, what are we going to do with it? Everything's just emotional. And it's like, that can absolutely change the direction of your life. Like, take you, for example. I remember sitting in my office, and our driveway at church is gravel. And I remember you like, "Ah!" and you're like hitting gravel, and it's like, coming in. And I was like, oh crap, like somebody died, you know what I mean? And you came in, you had all that crap, and you're like, you drop it down, you're like, I'm freaking done, you know what I mean? And it's like that, if you didn't have somebody that you felt confident in sharing literally the most intimate and secretive things that we do, whether you can see it or things that you think. Nobody knows except
Hmm.
for God and you what you think about,
Yeah,
right? And when you share that with somebody, what if I would have, because I've had people in my life who are like, it's normal, it's part of it.
yeah,
If I would have done that, who knows the direction? So it's like those things shape you, but there's also, man, you, we're not just byproducts of like a mill, and it's like, oh, you're having a bad situation, but oh, go this way, and oh, it's all better. It's like you got to keep making the right choice,
for sure.
and you got to have a direction that ultimately, again, I think God's way is the best way. But there's a ton of really good advice to get you free from porn, and it'll get you free from porn, but you have a big hole that you got to fill, and you're just going to fill it with some other jacked up stuff, unless it's God.
Yeah,
So yeah, it helped, but I don't ever want to be that guy again,
yeah, and
you know?
I agree 100%. But I know that. So once I, because I actually sought help, and like you said, and this isn't even necessarily on a marriage or whatever, but it's on still a relationship with another man that I had the confidence in that I could go in and say, hey, I walked into his office. I said, I think my wife's leaving me. I said, I'm
Yeah.
certain. So this was in April. I said, I'm certain my wife's leaving me. And to this day, she was like, no, I didn't ever say that. But in my head, I had thought that like she's
Mhm.
done.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so to be able to go to him and say, here's what I'm struggling with, like, and he says, dude, we're starting today and we're on this together. We're going to go through this with each
Yep.
other. And I signed up with a actual coach too to help me
Yep.
uh with everything, because it was like you said, it's the habits. We're having to change our whole thought process as to when I
Yes.
was a young kid, it was there for me when I needed it. As I grew older, it was still there for me when I needed it and such.
Yes.
And so then as I also grow
Yes.
older, I don't need it. You
Yeah.
realize, but we're so enslaved to it,
Yes.
that we don't know how to get out. We don't know that we can because, like you said, it's in the society and the world that we live in, it is normal. Like it's everywhere.
100%.
It's a
100%.
thing.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, and,
crazy.
porn is a sin.
Yeah.
Lusting is a sin. However, sin, a lot of times, what you see is not the main issue. It's the manifestation of some deeper issue, whether it's a pride issue, whether it's, you know, you were abused, whether um, you don't have a proper understanding of self-worth and self-value, because it's not just, men looking. Sometimes it's the women that, are, they think that that's all they're good for or whatever, and it's like
Yeah.
those things, what we see, we always condemn it, but it's like, man, I want to know why that's my go-to, when
Yeah.
every time I do it I feel like crap and I feel terrible, and yet I'm going to go back. Like, what's going on there? That's what I want to fix. And going, to marriage thing, I had a professor who I told him, and I said, here's what's going on. What should I do? Um, and he's like, don't tell your wife. And he had valid reasons. He's like, because he was under the understanding, right? Jesus is asked, like, as far as the divorce rules by the Pharisees, because they're trying to trap him because they're dirtbags. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And they're asking about divorce rules, and he brings up this idea like, you can't divorce your husband unless there's death. Like they're no longer there, or if there's this kind of intimate death of adultery, then it's okay. And so he was under that impression, like, your wife, she can divorce you, and I've seen it happen. Like, so don't tell her, but work on it. And so if it comes out and it's like, hey, are you still struggling with this? No, I'm not struggling with it, even if it's been a day. That was kind of his viewpoint. And that didn't sit well with me, because I'm a pretty transparent, open, raw,
Yeah.
um, kind of person. So I was just like, man, I've been struggling with this for almost 10 years. I got to tell my wife. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
She had no idea. She had none. I mean, I'm the first dude she ever kissed. I'm the first dude she ever held hands. I'm the first dude she ever made out with. I'm the first dude she ever had sex with. I'm the first dude she ever saw naked. Like, I'm the first on everything. Yeah, exactly, right? She's like, whoa. It's like, I need another shot. No, right? It's just like, it's everything for her was first. So in her mind, she knew of these things. She knew that porn existed. She knew temptation, all that stuff, but blew her doors off. And I remember the 3 days I slept on the couch. And and the craziest thing is, I've never felt more free than I did in those 3 days, when I
Yeah.
was laying on our bed and I told her, I have to tell you something, and it's going to hurt you, and I don't know how you're going to respond. I'm not going to tell you how to respond, but I have to tell you. What's crazy is, right, she goes into the bathroom like she had done hundreds, or maybe not hundreds, a bunch of times in that first year. But this time, uh, all the other times I sent her in there, I was pissed off at her. I was mad. I hated her. I was, but this time, I felt so sad, because I knew how much I had just hurt her. And in that, there was freedom, because it didn't control me anymore, you know? And that's what marriages need. Marriages don't need, relationships don't need this sugar coat. If you surround yourself with people who like you because you make good choices, like, what is that? What relationship is that? I mean, the
Yeah.
Bible even talks about that. Like, big deal. You like people who like you.
Yeah.
Like, great. I'm so glad you love them. Like, what about loving your enemy? Nobody does that. We just get on Facebook and tell them they're stupid because they vote for the other side of the aisle. And it's like, I could have dealt with this issue in my life and moved on, and she may or may not have ever known, and I could have handled it. But the fact that she knows about it, the fact that she knows I can struggle with it, right? Like, I can talk about it and I can be open about it, and she can help other girls and other women and other wives with it. Like, I know exactly what you're feeling, what you're going through, and there's just so much freedom in, this is who I am.
Yes.
This is the choices I made, and we're doing it together. I mean, the Bible says the two shall become one. Like,
Yes.
so how do I move in freedom and reconciliation in Christ without my wife, who I'm one with? So, so I chose to tell her, and uh, it it sucked for a little bit, but yeah,
Explain to me that sense of freedom that you felt. Can you even, like, can you grasp that feeling?
yeah, it's kind of like when you're I use weightlifting. It's like when you're benching and you're right there, you're hitting your third rep, you're on your 10th, your third set, your 10th rep, and it sucks and you're shaking. You don't want to do it, but you also want to do it because you know it's coming. And as soon as it hits that and it catches it and you don't have it anymore, it's like I'm fully aware of the struggle it took to get there. But this feeling right now that I have of I no longer carry that burden, but I know that I can put it up. It's like I don't want her to feel pain, but I also don't want to be barricaded and caged with that. And it's like this, I don't have that issue anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I don't have this massive secret. I don't have to make sure, oh shoot, she's going on the laptop. Oh gosh, did I remember to get rid of the history? Did I remember to do that? Oh my gosh,
We
is she
talked
gonna
about
see
this the
it?
other day when I can
Uh,
give my wife my cell phone
Boom.
and not feel
Preach.
like, "Oh,
Preach.
no, what's she gonna see?"
Dude. No joke.
But so it's hard for me to put that sense of freedom into words, like, because you know as well as I know that there's a lot of dudes, more dudes that even want to admit, that struggle with this. This
Oh
whole conversation took a different turn than I was expecting, but I think a lot of guys need to hear this stuff, you know?
yeah.
We have choices. If and this was our thing. This pornography was our addiction. I don't care what it is though.
Yeah.
I have a different when I see an alcoholic or
Mhm.
somebody that can't quit smoking or somebody that can't stop overeating, like I'm like, dude, I feel for you. I get it.
Yep. Yep.
It's the same
100%.
thing.
100%.
It's just this is what grabbed onto us.
100%.
But man,
Because I don't struggle with any of that. I do not. I've never once in my life ever said, you know what I want to do today? I want to get drunk. It's
yeah,
never happened.
yep,
I don't smoke. I don't struggle with any of that. But lust, oh, game changer.
yep,
It's like I can't even freaking walk into Target.
yeah.
It's like
So, and I
I
think that's a good point to make. So, yeah, we don't sit here and ever, since I started this, I haven't sat down and viewed pornography.
Mhm.
Lust, when I sometimes you can let your mind go there, and it's one of those things. That's why I wear this rubber band that I've shared. Whenever I have
Mhm.
feelings, I'll snap that sucker, and it gets. Then
Yep.
I have some affirmations I say, but that's something that can still
Yep.
get a hold of us as men because
Yep.
it's easy. And you know what? If we're tired, if we haven't eaten well, if all of the there's a ton of different factors that can send you spiraling.
100%. 100%. And one of the things that I think can help a marriage is, first of all, realizing that your sex life, okay, is not going to be what you see on porn.
Exactly.
And second, why would you want it to? Why do we value fake, phony, like the stupid sets and the just the communication and the role, like none of that is freaking real. You know what I
None of
mean?
it is real.
Like it's none of it's real. If we just call it for what it is, it begins to lose value.
Yes.
I only value something if I continually feed it. The moment I stop feeding it, the moment, like, for example, I'm golfing a bunch. I'm golfing more than I've ever golfed in my life. And I love golf. And I shoot, mid mid 80s. I shot a +4 the other day, which was like stupid good, right?
Nice.
Like, I just love golfing. And so I'm like, "Oh, you got to get a new set. You got
Oh,
to get
yeah.
new golf clubs." And this stupid Siri hears you, and it's like freaking flooding everything. And it's like, I'm already impulsive, so I don't need any help. It's coming. And it's like, I could sit there for hours, dude, and be like, oh, do I want cavity, or do I want blades, or do I want muscle back, or, what brand, or I should go get fitted. The
Yeah.
moment I stop feeding that, I don't have this desire. I don't care.
Yes.
And it's like, so first, stop feeding this fantasy world that is not real, and in reality, you don't want it.
No.
You don't
No.
want it. That's not what you want. You want a genuine relationship. And so the second thing is, Paul talks about marriage, and he says two things. He says to a woman, he says, wives, respect, submit to your husband, you know. And then he says, men, love your wives. And here's the thing: when I love my wife, it is never about me. I'm always putting her first.
Mhm.
Always. I don't come home and go, "Okay, what are you doing? Why haven't you done what I think you should do?" Um, you know, it's been 6 days. Why are we not having sex right now? Why are you not just naked when I come home? It's like all these things. It's like you're not putting yourself in your wife. You love somebody, they're first. It's you come home and I realize I have 3 girls. I have twins who are 6, and I have a 1-year-old who currently right now will not go to sleep and is screaming, and she's teething. And it's like, I don't I don't put my needs and what I have and what I expect in front of my wife. Now, is that 100%? Obviously not,
Yeah.
but that's the goal,
Yeah.
right? And porn is something that gets in the way of that. It's an obstacle. And it's like a lot of men. I mean, I watched a dude today. I was in Taco Bell. He was probably 50, late 40s. And there was a girl that walked by. She was married. Clearly, her husband was right there. She was late 30s. And I watched him the entire time, just staring at her butt, and watched her sit down with her husband, watched everything. Here's the problem with that: if you're going to do that in public, and there's no shame, because he made eye contact with me, and I absolutely love going, I know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, if you're going to do that in public, what are you doing in front of your wife? And second, how deep does that go when people aren't watching? Like, how deep is that no personal space? Because what man who's married to his wife, if we don't know each other, and we're in a restaurant, and I walk up to Jess and I slap her on the butt and I said, "Hey, baby, you want to go have sex?" Because that's what he's thinking.
Yeah.
He's undressing her. He's having sex with her in his mind. He's thinking about all the things. I mean, that's what's happening, right? If I do that, are you just going to sit there and go, "Oh yeah, okay"?
Yeah.
No. If you come up to my wife, if I catch you looking at my wife, I will say something. I will say something to you, because she's mine. You
Yeah.
don't. You don't. You don't earn that. I earned that. I committed myself to her. She is mine. She's not yours. And it's just like this. I don't know. We have a bad understanding of commitment and love, and it's not about you. I think a lot of guys, a lot of marriages, they talk about, oh, my wife won't let me, or I'll let her. And I don't say this in an arrogant or chauvinistic way, but Kayla and I do not, that's not how we roll. I don't let her do something and she doesn't let me do anything.
Yep.
We're one. So, I don't go, okay, I'm going golfing this week and you just have to get over it. You just have to let
Exactly.
me do it. It's like, I'm going to ask you, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
Like, does the timing work? Is it good? Like, are we cool with it? And I trust her enough that if she tells me no, it's probably for a good reason,
Yeah. Exactly.
you know, because she has my interest in mind. I have her interest in mind, you know? And it's like uh, this whole idea of being whipped and and it's just a bunch of baloney,
It really is.
that if you love your wife well, I don't think you'll ever regret that type of relationship. And you'll never look back when you're 60 years old and go, man, I really wish I could have golfed in that tournament when I was 22 and got drunk with my buddies. And you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
you're not going to look back on that as something you've missed
Yeah,
because you're going to have a fantastic relationship.
for sure. And I need to go back a ways, but like you said, once I opened up and shared with her, I mean, like you said, it was a bad few days, but
Yep.
now the trust, like I said, you know, those first few years of marriage weren't the best because I know that she didn't trust me. Deep down,
Hmm.
like she didn't say it, but I knew like she doesn't trust me. Like,
Oh, yeah.
where's the breaking point? And so once I made that decision, and I give her credit for that because how many wives now deal with it? Just put up with
Hmm.
stuff that they shouldn't,
Yep.
And so
Yep.
once, like I said, now that we like, she can tell me like, Mike, I trust you. Like you said, if I ask her like, I want to do something, like, can I go golfing? Because I don't do a lot of stuff, but whenever I ask to do something, then she knows. I feel like that's pretty important to you. Then yeah, and then same way
Mhm.
with her. Like if we we tend to want to spend our time together,
Yep.
like doing things. Like,
Yep.
and I think that
Yep.
going way back, isn't that the way that marriage is supposed to be? The mother and
Yep.
father were supposed to be together, raise their kids. Like I don't know if I told you, but we're going to be homeschooling this year. So it's like I feel like that's the way. Like back in the day,
Love
wasn't that
it.
how God intended? Like we raise our own kids.
I mean, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Should be. Too many parents are not doing that.
But
You know.
this takes me down a different road as
Okay.
far as like what's the mental hurdle that a parent needs to get over to say, well, I have to work. I have to work to make money. At what point can we say, just stop and it'll all work itself out? You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, okay, we'll take, for example, I'm a pastor. I don't make a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was in school, I kid you not, the number that I had that I was like, if I can make this, I made it. It was
Yeah.
35,000.
Yep.
So the fact that I got a family of 5 and I support my family and I'm debt free and I have 3 vehicles and I don't owe on them. I don't have credit cards. I eat when I want to. I have McDonald's whenever I want. The fact that I can do that on one income so that my wife can do really what she desires to do, which is be with the kids. Now, obviously, it gives her lots of headaches and
Yeah.
it's stressful, but she loves doing it, right? Like the fact that I can do that is really because I'm not out there buying a new golf set. I'm
Yeah.
not out there buying a new boat. I'm not out there acting like I'm some big hot shot. I drive a 94. All 3 of my vehicles have over 240,000 miles on them. It's like
Yes.
it it I think what it comes down to is men have this image, and I'm this way. I had a really good conversation with Kayla probably 4 or 5 months ago because I have these things of I say like what's my name? I'm freaking Shane Peters. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like whatever. Screw them. I have like this real tough like exterior, and I do to an extent, but a lot of it's defense mechanism from when I was younger and
Yeah.
just get made fun of and all that crap, and I realized that. But I told her that I don't wanna be that person anymore, you know? Like, if I say those and I want you to call me out because that's not the image of a man that I want my daughters to see, because when I look at God, I see the wrath, but I also see, it's interesting, Psalm 78, it's verse 33 and 34. And 78, it talks about basically the history of the Old Testament and how stupid the Israelites were and they kept making mistakes, kind of like us. And God says in verse 33 and 34 of Psalm 78, He says, Shane's paraphrase, that I looked at them and I saw that they were made of flesh, they were weak, and so I had compassion on them, and I didn't give them my full wrath. And it's like, I don't think a man is someone that, is Rambo or is, the guy from what Liam Neeson from Taken, or
Oh, yeah.
like I don't see it that, but I also don't see it as, this guy that's just a pushover and whatever. I see it as like it's my responsibility as the husband and the father and the father of my kids to teach them this is what a man of God looks like. There are times where I'm going to be stern, but there are many, many more times where I'm going to show you grace and compassion, and I'm going to teach you. And I'm going to, when I freaking make a mistake, I'll tell you, try that on for size, being tough, right? When you make a mistake with your kids, going in and telling them you're sorry, that's hard to do.
It is hard
Or
to
when
do.
your kid says, so you tell me that I can't scream and I can't yell at you, but you yell at me. What are you gonna say?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Are you gonna do as I say, not as I do? Are you gonna say that crap? It's like there's just a bad understanding of what a man looks like, and that's why I love when you reached out to me about Structure You. And I mean, I've known you for a good while, and um, you're really good at entrepreneur. Like I've anybody who's on this thing, Structure or whatever, I don't have you told them how you started? The
No, I don't think so.
Can I tell them?
Sure.
Okay. So
Here we go.
here we go. So basically, Mike and his buddy, which I don't know if you want me to name, I mean, I don't know. But Mike and his buddy started this business, and things
I wasn't
happen.
even aware that you knew this story, so this is interesting. I'm excited to
I
hear
know that, dude. Dude, I got it all locked up. So they started a business, things happen, business kind of went through whatever. So this is Mike. This is I'm just getting to meet him, things like this. He tells me, and you tell me if I'm right or whatever, but he was driving on the road because he had this business and these pressure washers and like, what am I going to do with it? He's driving on the road and he sees black streaks on roofs and he goes, I bet you we can clean them. What is that? I bet you someone's doing it. So he finds a dude in Florida, goes down, gets mentored for a little bit about this business, come back and starts it. Like you have always been, I mean, just your mind and how you see things and the perspective and how it works. And it's just like, it's fascinating to watch. However, you've really reached a turning point in you like to make the exterior of life pretty, but you're now tapping into the inner part of people's life. And you're like, we need to fix that too. And so I love what you're doing with Structure You because I mean, I don't know, there's 500-600 dudes in this. I don't know. I
Pushing
think it's
600 now.
okay, 600, right? Can you imagine what our communities would look like if 600 men went home and started acting like men? Whether, I know they're not all Christian. I think you should be. I think God's way is the right way, but I get it. It takes it. I get it. Okay. But if you started acting like a man who loves his wife and his kids more than anything, and you didn't bow down to reputation and money and bank account and what the latest commercial says, and you actually had a conviction that withstood impulses, can you imagine what our communities will look like
Dude, I
if
wish we
just
would have
people did
started off
that?
this conversation with that because we've went pretty long, but I want people to hear that. Like I'm going to go back and figure out when this is. Not you talking about me, but yes, if we as men, there's a good book out called Ego is the Enemy. Ryan Holiday. I don't know if
Yes.
you've ever read it, but
Yes.
just our ego
Yes.
all the time. And you know
Yes.
how I used to be whenever we were first starting. Like I was
Oh,
about the
yeah.
money. And
Oh, yeah.
I still enjoy making money. And one of the things like I'm getting better at, I feel like, and used to be my ego. I would want to tell people, but because the misconception, not misconception, whatever you want to call it, was that I had a job where I wore a shirt and tie,
Mhm,
looked fancy, got this,
mhm.
started this business, and I dressed like I don't want to say a dirt ball, but I was dirty working outside. But I was making 3, 4, 5 times now, just ridiculous, 10 times as much
Yeah.
money as I was, and I
Yeah.
wanted people to know that. Like I felt
Yes.
like I needed to share. Like, hey, I'm not
Yes.
I'm not scraping pennies here. Like I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
now it's taken a long time, and even now, still, like somebody asked me about just it happened tonight. Somebody asked me about Christmas lights, and like you literally can make more and I'm doing it right now. But anyway, like I shared with them how much money I made in Christmas lights, and I'm like, when I got home, I'm like, why did I do that? Like, but he was interested, and he's an entrepreneur too, so I kind of like that. But still, like, I
Yeah.
have to check my ego when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, all the time. Yep. All the time.
this year since I've started
Mhm.
making these internal changes, and I want other men to experience this too. That's why we started
Yep.
Structure You. But
Yep.
like, so now, if I were to list it all on a piece of paper, it starts with God. It starts with my wife. It starts with
Mhm.
my kids. Then it goes into fitness. Then it
Mhm.
goes into, I mean, running a business and making money is like 5 or 6 down on the list because, too, like you said, Shane, it's God's way. And now that I trust that He's always going to provide for me,
Mhm.
you know,
Yep.
I'm cool with it. And still,
Yep.
I don't know what's a lot of money. It's all different for different people.
Mhm.
But I enjoy the aspect of making money. Like I said, my mind thinks differently. Like I want to think of different ways to make money or
Yeah.
how I can serve people. Oh, dude, this book. Have you read this? The Go Giver.
Mm-mm.
It's just all about serving, serving, serving.
Mhm.
And so that's like the path I want to go down. Like I just want to continue to serve people, and and
Yeah.
especially men in this group. Like I want guys to experience what we're experiencing, how we need to be treating
Yes.
our wives, how we need to
Yeah.
be interacting with our children, how we need to interacting with our friends instead of
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago we had some guys out here, so we had a part of a CrossFit competition, and it was we were building a wall. I told my wife after these guys left, I said, back in the day, like there would always be a 6 pack or a 12 pack of beer involved. Like we're
Mhm.
building stuff, beer's got to be involved. But now,
Mhm.
like health a priority. I'm around, oopsie, healthy people, and we're doing healthy things and not
Yeah.
drunk and drinking beer all the time.
Yeah.
And there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong. I don't mind having a beer every now and then. That's fine. But not like it used
No, I will have one after this, I think.
to.
Maybe, I don't know if I have
This got
anymore.
pretty deep, but I love
Yeah.
it because I think a lot of guys need to hear this.
Yeah. Shoot,
'Cause it's
man, I wish somebody would have sat me down because my dad never did this crap. It was always my mom. Whenever it hit the fan, my mom come in. You catch me with porn, my mom's like freaking talking about awkward,
hmm,
like never money, how to how to handle finances, how to juggle making big choices in life, all that. Always my mom.
yeah. Yep.
Never my dad. And it was like, I wish people would do that, especially in my circle, you know, in church. A lot of times it's like, oh, you need Jesus. And then it's like you give him Jesus and well, what next? Like you just started, bro. Like there's a whole lot, and God speaks to all facets of life, and it's like I wish people would sit down and not just talk about stupid things that people do, but actually go up to them like, hey, here's my experience. I don't know, I sat down with a guy probably 2 months ago, been alcoholic for 18 years. Um, Good dude. But I'm really into NF. You know who NF is? The rapper?
No.
Oh, bro, you gotta check him. I hate rap, but holy crap, this dude is legit. But he's got a line in one of his songs that says, "Good people are great at making bad choices." And I was like, "Oh, that'll preach," And this is what this guy is. He's a great dude, but he's an alcoholic, you
Yeah.
know. And he was like, "Shane, how do I quit?" And it's like, well, first, because everyone's like, you got to quit drinking. I'm like, you don't have to quit drinking. You need you need to find what's causing this. You need to get silent. You need to go. If you're a wilderness dude, like that's what I go out in the Rockies and I go out in nature and I play music and like I go get time with God
Yes.
and I just hone and you call it meditation, you call it whatever you dang well want, but I am chill. I don't have my phone. I'm not telling people what I'm doing. I ain't got nothing planned. I am chilling.
Yeah.
And I'm spending time with my creator and silence and I get perspective. And when you're getting that perspective, then you can start to see sober minded, start to see those choices, what you got to do next. It's like sometimes we read books, watch YouTube videos, we get on podcasts, we get in groups, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna freaking do it. Like I don't know who the guy is, but the guy that's lost like 35, 40 pounds in this last few months and he's just freaking killing it. I'm like,
Pushing 50 pounds now.
dude, I'm like, you're freaking amazing, bro. Like,
Keith Myers. Got to give Keith Myers a shout out. Like
dude,
he is
Keith
killing
Myers.
it.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, how many times do we sit there and say, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
This is it. How many times did we get caught with porn? How many times did we say, oh, we don't want to look at it? How many times did you know that you screwed up, but yet you didn't do anything to fix it? That self discipline is rough. But I think the biggest culprit of that is we don't ever stop. We don't ever just quit what we're doing. Take some time to get perspective.
Yeah.
Stop feeding that impulse. So,
Yes. Like, and I don't know, like, if you ever take trips, like to the Rockies or something, like, I want to tag along sometime. Like,
oh, dude,
I bet there'd be a group of
let's
guys.
do
Like,
it.
I mean, you talk
Let's
about
do
like
it.
a men's retreat where we just go.
I got the place, bro. Bear Trap Ranch. I've been 3 times in the last 4 years because really we didn't get into it. And I don't know how long you want to do this for because I could talk forever. I do it for a
I
living.
know. I got to go to bed.
But
I gotta go to bed early.
go to bed. Go up. uh, no, but so this is what saved my marriage. Like because the porn quit and all that stuff. But then, like I said, you get rid of it if you don't replace it with good stuff. It just gets replaced with other crap. And so there was a time is after I left Toledo, I was in Belleville and, I was playing games all the time, and so I'd come home and I'd sit down, I'd play my video game till 2, 3 in the morning. And I had my twins were stinking 2 years old. Okay. They'd cry and it's like, Kayla, I'm busy. I can't, I'm playing my game. You got to get them.
Mm.
And I was drinking. I don't know that I would say I'd be okay with classifying as an alcoholic. I was never drunk, but I probably drank 2 to 4 stag beer. Got a shot every night, and then I would go into bed 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, get up late, go to work 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever, and I'm in ministry. Like, come on, and terrible dad, terrible husband, terrible minister, just freaking pits. Went to this retreat, and this dude, John Luzatter, wrecked my life. And he showed me Jesus is not number one. You're just a poster child for him, but you don't actually live it. And wrecked my life. And I sat on a mountaintop for 9 hours and I watched clouds form out of nothing. And I just spent time with the Lord and came home with a game plan. And that's when my marriage changed. Was
Dude,
when,
that's awesome.
dude. So I've been there 3 times. Last time I drove out there was 2 days, and I drove Estes Park and just drove all through the northeastern part of Colorado. And I mean,
Dude, the
it's
vulnerability on
beautiful.
your end is incredible. Like, that's another thing is we as men, like you mentioned, like, making mistakes and owning up to them
Mhm,
is huge, you know?
mhm.
Like, I
Yeah. Well, who you
it's
gonna
hard for
trust
us to
more in life?
do what?
Who you gonna trust more in life? The guy that makes mistakes but never tells you, or the guy that makes mistakes and tells you, and then you watch how he seeks reconciliation or repentance, but then that he's always honest.
Yep. And,
Which,
even from my end now, looking at you and hearing the story, because I didn't know that about the gaming and drinking, but like I have always, and this is right, wrong, or different, held you to a higher standard because you are a minister.
mhm.
You're a pastor. You're supposed to be above me. Like, I'm just a
Yep.
sinner down here.
Yeah.
You,
I'm a
man.
jacked up.
But I heard a guy recently tell me,
Mm,
and he said, Mike, the pastor at my church, you know that we're the same dude. We're the exact
mhm,
same people. He's like, I took him out to lunch. And I said, hey, I just want to let you know that I understand that you're no better, no worse than me, but I'm a
mhm,
sounding board. If you ever want to come to dinner and tell me this guy here, he's just being a prick. He's like, I want to let you know that it's okay.
mhm.
And I understand because
Yeah,
you got to
yeah,
get some of this stuff off your chest too. And it's unfair for me to hold you to a higher standard for any of us because
sure,
dude, we're going through these trenches together. Every
sure.
single
Mm,
man in this group,
mhm.
I don't want to say has some sort of an issue, but we all got issues.
Oh, everybody has an issue.
Everybody has issues, and we're all dealing with
Everybody,
something else. And the
because
sooner that you can own up to it and admit it, and I don't care what it is, dude, you get that sense of freedom.
yep, yep.
My marriage, like my wife has said, our marriage has grown so much since I took that step, and and she's made a lot of changes too. Like once I started changing,
Mhm,
she started changing. Like, dude, our marriage, she said, Mike, I feel now like no matter what happens in our marriage, we can get through anything. And I was like, dude, that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. What else do you wanna hear in a marriage?
Exactly. And so with her business that she's running too, I said, like, how much money do you think you want to make a month? Like, what's the goals? And she says, this was, I don't know, maybe 6, 8 months ago. She says, Mike, I want to make enough money that you can help other men get over these problems with pornography so that other wives don't have to experience this. And I was like,
There you go.
my woman.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was you. I don't remember where I got it from, but the 1% better.
Yeah, I'm a man.
I don't
It's
was that you?
yeah, it's in I talk about it a lot, but it's in this book, Atomic
I've
Habits.
heard you talk. Okay.
Dude, I got
It
all this stuff. I love
dude,
this.
I dude, I preach that. That's a Shaneism, dude. I mean, that is so if that's your goal, you're gonna be killing it. If your goal is to be 1% better,
And
I
you got
tell
to think 1% better every day, you're not going to
yep.
see a noticeable difference.
No.
But over the course of time,
Yeah.
like you said, you have to replace that bad habit, whether it's pornography,
Yep.
drinking, whatever it is, you have to replace it with something.
Yep.
And I think you and I are a lot alike as far as like a pretty addictive personality. And so
Yep.
now I'm getting into this whole CrossFit stuff or even
Oh, I know.
just my
Mhm.
cardio alone, like I'm pretty good at that stuff now. I'm like, I never would have imagined it, but I'm
Yep.
replacing the bad with something that's way better.
Mhm.
And two, it's more about different things as far as like even serving. You know, I'm
Mhm.
replacing a bad habit with something that's above Mike Newhart. It's more I'm serving on a
Yeah,
different level that's more
yeah,
than me.
yeah. If what you're doing in life, because we're all replaceable.
Yeah,
If what you're
exactly.
doing in life, when you're replaced, you're missed, but it's not catastrophic, you're doing it right. If you're bringing people up and you're doing CrossFit and you're getting healthy and your life's great and you and Jess and it's like freaking poster child USA, that's great. But if you have nobody that you are shepherding and helping along the way, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, what good is it?
You're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? And it's like the fact that I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, I'd sit in a jacked up U-Haul van going to wash houses and hear your heart and your motivation for doing it, and then now seeing that flip, going from making money to what people thought of you and all of that, and then it I mean, it's money, it's a big deal. Who cares? I care more about that. That shift, it's changing so many more lives
Man, I
than
appreciate that. I
you know what I
want you
mean?
guys to know that this has not been scripted. Like I'm not paying Shane to say this. So
Well, I call spade a spade, son. I mean, we've had very intense conversations about your motivation, and I'd sit down and be like, you need to be careful. You know, you got to be careful with this, and it's like um, same thing with marriage, same thing with life. You got to be careful with what you've been given. Second Timothy 4 talks about Paul's telling Timothy that you need to guard the good deposit entrusted to you. And from a pastor's point of view, it's you preach and you teach and you tell people how to live their life. But from a Christian's point of view, it's like it's really not a whole lot different. Like it's the good news and it's how Jesus has transformed you and done those things. And it's like I that is the only thing that I draw a line in the sand for.
yeah,
I don't care how you vote. I don't care what sexual orientation you are. I don't care what you think different than me. I have my convictions. I have my opinions. I think those things. But guess what? If I'm going to have one chance to talk to you, it it's going to be about Jesus.
yeah,
It,
yep,
and it's like if I'm doing it because I'm a pastor and you're doing it because you have an entrepreneurial mind out of this world, plus you want to help people, we're doing what we should be doing. I'm pointing you to the best way.
yep,
I don't always do it the best way, but it's way better than what I was doing 8 years ago,
for sure.
you know? So,
Our journey. We just got to continue to plant those seeds.
yep,
And you're
yep.
still always going to be somebody I look up to in that regard. Like I'm always going to hold you to a higher standard than me. So just know that.
Well, there God does talk about how I'll be judged doubly, so I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Yep, yep,
Oh man, dude, I appreciate you coming on here. I appreciate the vulnerability and just sharing the stories
yeah,
you share with us. I think that dude, people are going to resonate with this. So I don't know. I just know that there's a lot of guys that deal with this and struggle with different things. And like you said, it's finding where it stems from. It happens somewhere. Normally, it seems like in childhood. You
yep,
know, and
yeah,
so
yep.
guys, Shane, where can people reach you at if they want to get a hold of you and ask you some more questions or something?
Well, you can I think my Facebook, I'm on there pretty
Okay.
often, and
Yeah, 'cause
that's
you remember
just
in this group.
yeah, I'm a member in Structure U. But you also, if you want to like actually get a hold of me, if you go to Judson Road Christian Church, so it's judsonroad.org. That's the church website. You can get the church number and you can call that and ask for me, and they'll get a message to me, and I can reach out to you.
Okay. Awesome.
Um, because like Thursday, I'm talking with a person about depression. You know, and that's what I love to do. I
That's all.
love telling stories. I like doing that stuff, but for the purpose of, I think it's your purpose as well. Is we want to help people.
Yeah.
Because you're always gonna have people who are like, ah, that ain't me. And it's like, okay, I'll see you in a couple years.
Dude, and I
It
feel
ain't
like
gonna
probably
work.
a lot of us dudes are probably like that. Like, how long
Yeah.
did I live in that denial?
Oh
That's
yeah.
ego is the enemy. We live almost in denial. And like I told you, I shared with my wife, like
Yep.
I was living basically two separate lives
Yep.
for a lot of years,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it is what it is. Now it's that freeing, like I said, like I know that with my wife, we can get through anything at this point. And it's also one of those things I wanted to share this. We're going a little long, whatever.
I
That
don't care.
also I don't want to ever take for granted what we have. Like my marriage is number one priority besides God. And so I want my children to see that and know that
Yes.
no matter what, we're always working on. We like to schedule with COVID, it's different, but have scheduled date nights where we're doing different things together
Mhm.
all the
Yep.
time because our marriage is important to us. And like I said,
Yep.
I told her, I said, you're literally like, you're my best friend. Like, I want to spend my time with you. And she's like, I do. You're the same with me. Like, we do things together. Like, how
Yep.
often are couples doing things together these days? You know,
I tell you what, I suck at that. I really do.
really?
As far as dates, yeah, I've never been good with them. But something that we do is my days off, that's family time.
Yeah.
Like I don't care who you are.
Mhm.
I got the guys at work. They're like, "Oh, Shane only golfs when he works." I'm like, "Yeah, what do you think? I want to sit in an office all day? Like, get a grip, you
Yeah.
know." But it's like when it's Friday, Saturday, that's family time. If we're gonna drive around and rummage sale for 6 hours, we're gonna do it. You
Yep.
know, it's like I didn't marry Joe. I married Kayla, and I
Yeah.
have 3 beautiful kids with her, and I want to spend time with them.
Yep.
You know, so you're
That's,
100%.
get better at the date part of it because that's really not that hard. Like, even if it's
It's not hard.
like with
Well,
my wife and I, we like to do a lot of the day dates. Like I'll take an afternoon off where
yeah.
we can go, which we don't do this a lot, but we went kayaking once recently, and that was
Mhm.
fun. Or just grocery shopping, going to Home Depot.
Yeah.
We consider anything a date as long as we're spending time together. Because that's we didn't touch on the love languages at all, but the love languages. My main thing is like quality time, and hers is up there too with words of affirmation. So I'm
No,
not the
dude.
best at words of affirmation. So
Man, I tell you what, I am words of affirmation.
are you?
Oh, dude, it's bad.
I'm not very good. So
It's bad. It is bad. I tell you, he was talking about pride and arrogance and ego getting in the way. There's 7 things that God hates. 4 of them have to do with self-image, pride, arrogance, how you think of other people. It's like pride is the only thing that God specifically says that he opposes.
mm, mm,
Like he hates sin, but he opposes proud because it is the biggest thing that gets in the way of you and God, but also the biggest thing that gets in the way of you and accomplishing anything.
yes,
You know,
yes.
you don't start that venture because, you know, you think that I'll do it better, so I'll have to wait for this, I'll have to do that, or somebody gives you a critique, and it's like, what the frick do they know what they're talking about? I know what I'm doing, and it's like you can't even be teachable because your pride and so
Yeah.
many things that who cares if somebody thinks you're not as awesome as you are? If you're awesome, it's
You don't
gonna
need
be
somebody to tell you you're awesome.
100%, dude. Like it's gonna be clear as day.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, that's so cool.
So
But dude, like I said, the vulnerability you shared was awesome. Like I didn't know half those stories, so it was awesome to hear that. And like I said, we're all in the trenches together, and I love that
yep,
we've got so
yep,
many members in here. And so,
100%.
thanks for spending some time with me, and we'll get a lot out of this.
Oh, I love spending time with you. It's one of my
All right,
favorite things to do. I love me some Mike Newhart.
get out of here. We'll see you. Thanks, Shane.